What's up, guys? It is TesMcGee here, and today I'm going to be showing you my current Demon Hunter build in Diablo 3. So when it comes to my build, with Sharpshooter, I have about 1.4 million DPS and like 8 million toughness. So I got some pretty good gear. I got some lucky on some rolls, but without Sharpshooter, my DPS goes down by quite a bit. I have like 615k, so it drops by about half. So Sharpshooter is where a lot of my DPS comes from. So like in the first couple seconds of the fight, I can do a lot of burst damage. And this build is mostly about burst damage when it comes to like bosses, elite mobs, or just like doing bounties or rifts or anything like that. So we get into it. My primary and my secondary, since I have Loader for Bear, which takes up a lot of hatred, I've been using Entangling Shot with Justice is Served, which increases the hatred generation to 6 per shot. I'm using a 2-handed bow, so I don't have that much attack speed, but it's like 1.67 per second, so I can get my hatred back pretty quickly, which is really good, because Cluster Arrows is mainly the DPS you're going to need when Vengeance is on cooldown. So for the defensive aspect of the build, I use Vault. Now this may sound kind of weird, but Vault is really good for mitigating damage. For Vault, right now I'm using Action Shot, and the reason that I'm using Action Shot is because it goes very, very well with Night Stalker. Since Action Shot is always a crit and it fires 4 arrows, I have a chance of getting back 4 discipline if it hits something. If you guys are having a lot of like discipline troubles, I would suggest using Tumble. It's really good for using consecutive vaults, and it can be very, very good for getting out of a tight spot. So the reason that Vault is really good for mitigating damage is that when you're in mid-roll, you can't take any damage. So for example, say that there's a frozen going off or something, if you roll when the frozen explodes, you won't take any damage and you won't get frozen. So this is the exact same with a lot of things. And another good thing is that say you're in a corner, like here for example, and you roll into the corner, the action still happens. So if you're stuck in a corner and the frozen or like someone's gonna come hit you and you roll into a corner, that second when you're rolling, you'll take no damage. So it's very, very good for mitigating a high damage like frozen, arcane, anything like that. It's very, very good. Now the burst part is going to come from the 3 that I had down here. So I'm using the Companion with Wolf for the active. It's going to increase all damage done by 30%, which is very, very good. Vengeance, which is a huge DPS boost. Right now I'm using Dark Heart because of my bracers, which gives me 20% more damage for lightning skills. If you don't have that, I would probably use Seethe, because gaining 10 hit per second makes your cluster arrow very, very, very good. And then I'm also using Rain of Vengeance for my AoE. Again, I'm using Shade because it gives me lightning damage, and I have a 20% increase in lightning damage. So if you guys have like extra fire damage, I would suggest using the one that has fire. It just really, really helps you with the boost. So now I'm going to show you guys some of how the build works. I've gotten fairly lucky with some of the gear that I've gotten. My neck piece, for example, I have 100% crit damage, and the very first reforge, I had 10% crit chance, which is very, very. Oh, I forgot to do my passive. Not bad. So for passives, I'm using Steady Aim because 20% damage, 10 yards isn't that much. For example, like Vault is 35 yards, so like a third of that's 10 yards. So you're almost always going to be 10 yards away from your victim. Night Stalker, as I showed, to get back discipline. Now Ambush is very, very good because you deal 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health. So with that, your very first strike is going to do a ton of damage. So if you unload with some cluster arrows, and since you're using Sharpshooter, you're going to always crit. So with your crit damage and everything, and then 40% more damage, you're going to be doing a ton of damage right out of the gate. So this is what I mean by it's going to be a burst build, because you're going to pop your Companion, your Vengeance, and your Rain of Vengeance all at the exact same time, and just do a ton of damage. So I'll show you guys what I mean by going and trying to find a rare mob or something like that. Excuse me. Here we go, for example. Popping everything, you can just do a 10 damage very, very quick. Like, they had 65 million health each, and the guy is dead very, very quickly. So in Tournament 2, it took me maybe 15-20 seconds maximum to kill that mob. Now I know you're thinking, like, when these aren't on cooldown, or when they are on cooldown, how long will it take you? Because I know that Companion and Vengeance and Vengeance do quite a bit of damage. So I'll show you guys what happens when they're not on cooldown. You still do quite a bit, not as much damage, but you do quite a bit. So I'll show you guys how to kill like Treasure Goblins without using any cooldowns. It's possible. It's a lot harder, to be honest, but it's still possible. So even with no cooldowns, you're still able to be able to kill the Treasure Goblins on Torment 2 with relative ease. So it's not like you need your cooldowns to be able to do everything. The cooldowns do help quite a bit and they make things much, much faster. But that's the build I'm currently using. Going through bounties is very, very quick. And now I'm going to explain to you the best way to get legendaries in bounties. So with the recent update with patch 2.0.4, sorry, they increased the chance of finding bounties, legendaries in rifts by 75%. So it used to be that when you're in a rift, you have an additional 25% chance of finding a legendary. Now they increased it so that on Torment 1, it's 100%. So they have a constant to find legendaries. So when you're in a rift on Torment 1, you have about a 100% chance more, so a double of finding a legendary. The problem is, on Torment 2, it's not linear, so you don't get a 200% chance. It's like a 1.3 to 1.4% increase. So even though they have twice as much damage and they have twice as much health, so it theoretically takes you like 2 times as long to kill them, you don't have a 2 times chance of higher finding legendaries. So if you run Torment 1, for example, you're gonna kill them way faster, and your chances are still pretty high. I think in rifts I've found quite a few legendaries, and the same goes for Chaldea with the blood shards. It doesn't matter what torment you're on, but they did increase her legendary drop rate. So if you want to get legendaries, you can kind of like spam it out. I found a couple good ones. I've found my offhand from her. I found the mage fist from her. I found quite a few things very, very good from her. They increased it, I think it was on April 9th. So it's just over the past couple of days when they increased the drop chance. So other than that, if you guys have any questions or comments on the build, just leave them in the description down below. I hope this guide was helpful. So if you guys want to give it a thumbs up and a subscribe, it'd be so helpful. And as always, take care.